Exposing the identity thievery of Camp Hebrew Israelites. Coming up. What is going on, YouTube? It is your boy, Faithful to God, and I'm back at it with my brother Willie. Willie, say what's up to the audience.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
So, today we're going to be doing a presentation before we open up the floor to have the Hebrew Israelites come in here to actually debate, to actually put First Thessalonians 5:21 into practice. We're going to be doing a presentation. It's primarily aimed at the Camp Hebrew Israelites and those adjacent to their views. And so the live stream is our Hebrew Israelites identity thieves. And for the Camp Hebrew Israelites and for the overwhelming majority of the Hebrew Israelite movement, yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. In particular, those who have racist ideologies. Now, to be fair, not all Hebrew Israelites are racist. They may be wrong, but not all of them are racist. But without further ado, let's actually just jump right into it. Let's actually get into this presentation. So, who are the people of Israel, Hebrew Israelism, identity theft, and the test of evidence? And of course, scripture, history, paternal genetics, and the gospel message. My brother Willie, if you could go ahead and read the next slide.
The claim fails as a cumulative case. No biblical text names these modern populations as Israelite tribes. A fatherline claim creates a testable Y chromosome prediction. The three population categories do not share one dominant paternal history. Scripture counts non Israelites among God's people without rewriting their ancestry.
Indeed. And before we go to the next slide, I just want to say this real quick. You know, we're going to be examining tonight, from biblical history, genealogy, and deeply important, who are the people of Israel. We're going to be examining that as far as how the biblical text and how history has laid it out. The question cannot be answered responsibly by emotions, appearance, national trauma, or a modern 12 tribes chart breakdown. It is a historical, biblical, and genealogical question, and serious claims require serious evidence. So tonight, we are going to be examining a specific doctrine promoted by the more racist Hebrew Israelites out there, the Camp Hebrew Israelites in particular. The claim that African Americans or the descendants of the slave trade, Latinos, and Native Americans collectively constitute the biblical 12 tribes, while mainstream Jews are dismissed as imposters. I will call that pattern identity thievery, not as a legal accusation, but as a description of identity appropriation joined to identity erasure. The issue is not whether Black people can be Jews. Of course they can be. The issue is not whether an individual African American, Latino, or Native American can have descent from Jews. Some do. The issue is whether the vast majority of those populations can be assigned to the 12 tribes of Israel by selective readings of curses misconstruing of maps, misuse of apocalyptic texts without documented chain of descent. The genetic center of tonight's case grants the camp's own rule for the sake of testing it that physical tribal identity passes through the father. If most men in several modern populations descend through an unbroken male line from Jacob and his sons, their Y chromosome should preserve a dominant a dominant pattern of historical or historically related paternal descent. Direct Y chromosome studies instead locate the major paternal histories of the three population categories in different ancient populations and different parts of the world. The conclusion will be clear. The mass tribal chart claims fail the combined tests of scripture, history, archaeology, genetics, and logic. More importantly, the Christian gospel, which is the New Testament gospel, offers something greater than a borrowed pedigree, reconciliation with God, and a new identity in Jesus Christ. My brother Willie, if you could go to the next slide. You could read that, please.
Precision makes the critique stronger. Hebrew Israelism is not one organization. Not every adherent teaches hatred or racial supremacy. This presentation targets racist and anti-Jew sectarian doctrines. People retain dignity even when their claims are false.
Indeed. So a serious critique must begin with a fair scope. Hebrew Israelites are not a single church, creed, or, they don't have a singular chain of command amongst each other. So scholars describe a broad family of movements that developed uh, in different waves with different theologies, rituals, politics, and attitudes towards Christianity and Judaism. So, in other words, during different periods of time, those who self identified as Israelites from among African Americans and then later different groups, these people in particular that formed what we know as the Hebrew Israelite movement had differing views on Christianity and Judaism. That's why you have some proponents that are willing to embrace Christianity. You have some proponents that were willing to embrace Judaism. Some communities are peaceful, some reject anti-Jew hatred. Some see their Israelite identity as a spiritual or cultural framework rather than a warrant to degrade anyone else. Those distinctions matter and they should not be erased. The target here is the racist fringe and the camp traditions that teach one or more of the following: that modern Jews are deliberate imposters, that skin color and outward appearance determines biblical identity, even when they claim it's not about your skin color, but the seed of your father, that whole races descend from the biblical Satan through Esau, or that they are the devil that the Bible speaks of in making faulty claims about Esau, that salvation is ethnically restricted or that other peoples are destined for subjugation. Those ideas are not made less racist because they arise from a historically oppressed community. Christian truth requires two commitments at once. We must, and this is very important. I want the audience to hear this. We must oppose anti-Black racism and tell the truth about the horrors of slavery. We must also oppose anti-Jew racism and tell the truth about the documented identity of Jews. Of another, a false doctrine should be challenged firmly while the person holding it remains an image bearer of God who must be answered with truth, patience, and moral clarity, and more importantly, dignity, that there must be dignity in mind. So we do these things with that in mind. So before we continue, and this is important, with that distinction in place, the phrase identity theft must be defined carefully. It is not being used here in its legal sense. It basically names a moral and argumentative pattern. The first step is appropriation. A modern group claims an ancient identity without the normal evidence used to establish population descent. The second is erasure. The Jews whose communities, texts, worship, family networks, and historical records carried that identity across centuries are declared fake. The third is conspiracy. When documentary or genetic evidence challenges the claim, the evidence itself is dismissed as a fabrication by the alleged imposters. The fourth is exclusion. Ancestry is then made the basis for superior status, exclusive salvation, or future rule over other races. Not every personal belief in Israelite descent follows this pattern. A person may sincerely explore family history without insulting anyone. The moral problem becomes acute when self identification is built on the dispossession of another people and protected from scrutiny via conspiracy theories and appeals to emotion. The irony is severe. A movement formed partly in response to the theft of African names, family records, freedom, and dignity can repeat the logic of erasure against someone else. Historic suffering deserves truth and repair. It does not grant a license to manufacture genealogy or to deny another people's continuity. All right. My brother Willie, if we can go to the next slide, please.
Identity theft names a four-part pattern. 1. Appropriate an ancient identity. 2. Erase its documented bearers. 3. Accuse them of conspiracy. 4. Attach privilege or salvation to race.
Indeed. So I wanted to establish that one more time that when we're dealing with these groups, right? If you're going to make a claim for identity, if you're going to assert that you are biblical Israelites, then you need to back up your claims with evidence. You cannot merely make the assertion, say, we're the Israelites, then try to look in the scriptures for verses that are cherry picked and ripped out of context to try to form the basis for your already pre-existing idea. So in other words, you start with you make your premise the conclusion and then you try to look for evidence for that conclusion. And in the process, you want to dismiss historically attested people groups who we know are actually historically Jews as somehow not being Jews. And of course, it also goes into the idea of dismissing the relevant communities that are known as Jews on the basis of thinking that the only way for you to be a part of the ancient community is to physically descend from Jacob. But even the biblical text contradicts that, as we're going to see later. And of course, attaching the idea of salvation to this concept, which the biblical text does not do, because as you'll see later, non-Israelites formed a part of the people of Israel, not only through conversion, but also through intermarriage. So that's important. That's salient. So, Brother Willie, if we can go to the next slide, please. And for the record, for the mods, time out any Hebrew Israelite that is in the audience. This is what we're going to do before we continue this. Hebrew Israelites, the join link is in the chat. I'm going to pin it so you cannot miss it. This is the join link. This is not a safe space for you. If you come in here, you're under obligation to come into the live stream. If you want to challenge what's being said, you got to come in here. You cannot hide out in the chat. We're not going to allow for you to hide out in the chat. This is, again, not a safe space for you in the chat. You want to come in here and have a discussion? You join the live stream by clicking on the link, and this is the link in case you don't see it. All right, let's continue on. My brother Willie, could you read?
A modern chart is not an ancient genealogy. Assertion is not descent. Modern races and nationalities are assigned to biblical tribes. Curses and scattering texts are treated as ancestry tests. The camps commonly make fatherline descent decisive. No independent paternal chain verifies the assignments.
Exactly. And so the big issue that we have here, and this is important, is that, when we actually examine this, when we look at this, one, the 12 tribes chart, right? Everybody who deals with the Camp Hebrew Israelites in particular and those sympathetic to their ideas has come across the 12 tribes chart breakdown. So the chart, the faulty chart, assigns modern populations such as African Americans, Caribbean peoples, Latinos, and Native Americans to biblical tribes like the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Asher, and other tribes. The first problem is anachronism. Categories such as Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, Mexican, Colombian, and African American arose through histories that occurred many centuries after the biblical period. They include internally diverse populations formed through migration, conquest, enslavement, intermarriage, and changing national borders. A modern nationality cannot simply be projected backward into an ancient patrilineal tribe. The second problem is circularity. The chart tells the reader which population is which tribe, then verses about Israel are applied to that population as though the chart had already been proven. But the verses did not produce the tribal assignment. The chart imposes those ideas onto a text that never makes the claim. The third problem is the absence of independent verification. There are no tribe specific archives, no continuous communal records, no inherited tribal instructions, no validated tribal DNA markers, no ancient sources that map these modern populations onto Jacob's sons in a meaningful fashion, in a provable, reputable, tangible fashion. The fourth problem is internal. One prominent chart teaching organization states that, quote, the male carries the seed, and that only people whose fathers descend from its, 12 tribes chart breakdown are the Israelites. So, for example, um, a Spanish father makes one a Spaniard according to their ideology. That rule places the burden on paternal lineage. It cannot later appeal to maternal, indigenous, or African ancestry when direct Y chromosome evidence contradicts the chart. Meaning, another thing, one cannot simply look at someone and say, I know who you descend from. So the faulty reasoning of what color is your father doesn't solve the issue. So if somebody father and he says my father is black, that doesn't therefore make that man the tribe of Judah, because the 12 tribes chart asserts that so-called blacks are the tribe of Judah. The chart may be memorable, it may be emotionally powerful, but it is not, and this is important, it is not reputable, and its claims are lacking in evidence. A recent interpretive chart is not evidence for a claim that is as yet to be validated. All right. And before we move to the next slide, I see we have Gideon came up in here. Gideon, what's going on, man?
Shalom. What's good, everybody? All praises to the Most High in the name of Yahshua. How you doing, faithful?
Man, I hope I'm doing better than you, man. You're not smoking that weed anymore, right?
I'm getting high off Christ, bro.
Well, I hope you ain't getting high of weed. That's the more important thing, man. Besides the number one is Christ, but after that, what I mean, like, want to make sure that you sober minded, like it says in the scriptures, man.
Oh, so where does it say you're not supposed to smoke weed at in the Bible?
When it says not to be that, when it tells you to be sober minded, you know what I mean?
Right. Clear thinking. Yeah.
Can you be sober minded while you're high?
I've heard plenty of people. I know people that work on skyscrapers smoking marijuana. So
That's
that's
probably why them
that's
skyscrapers be having them issues, man.
that's not the intent of that verse. You're taking it out of context. But there are some explicit verses, things like you
There are
should not
those.
eat pork and you should you should stay away from uncleanliness. Those things are explicit. That's in there. Now
You know what's also explicit?
the
The
weed thing.
reality that was, yeah. So Gideon, you know what's also explicit? The
Mhm.
biblical passages that mention that that was under the old covenant system, the system that we're not under. And in the new covenant, we read in Romans 14, verses 14 to 21, that the idea of eating and not eating is now a issue of basically conviction. So if a person feels that, because obviously in this covenant, different covenant, and we can get into that if you want to, but this is not about eating or not eating pork. This is about Hebrew Israelites demonstrating their claim for being Israelites. And my friend, you're one of those guys that can't actually demonstrate their claim. We've had these discussions in the past on Sister Cherry's platform, on Berean, on different people's platform. You tend to fail miserably at demonstrating your claim. So what precisely do you think you're going to bring to the table? So we're dealing primarily right now with the 12 tribes chart affirming Hebrew Israelites out there. You're not one of those guys. I know that for a fact because you and I have spoken about this.
Right. Well, it's good that you left your opinion on marijuana alone because you couldn't back it with scriptures, but clearly
Well,
you
let me actually
clearly
say this real quick before you insist that I can't. Um, so Gideon, so we're clear on something. I could easily beat you up on that point. I have a live stream that covers that very point that I'm sure you're not going to have answers for. But let's avoid the little pot shots because I will mute your mic and I'll make sure that you don't make those little pot shots. So let's keep it a little clean. I just wanted to make sure you weren't smoking weed anymore. That's all, man. I think that if you claim to be a servant of God Almighty, then you might want to be a little sober minded and not be high all the time. Like shout out to 50 Cent. I know maybe you like track 5 on Get Rich or Die Trying, man, but over here we don't do that. That's all I'm saying.
right. Good thing I'm not over there. But yeah, man. So what you got going on, bro? Because it's funny
You
how
looked on my live stream.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's funny how because I've been having these discussions for quite a while now. You know how it started out in the beginning that you and your kind would say that no Jews were in West Africa. They're only in North Africa. This and that.
So so hold on a second. Let me actually stop you because I don't like to be misrepresented. I've never made the claim that there were no Jews in West Africa. In fact, I have videos going back to 2016 where I was very explicit because I have books on the subject, and that's why I'm, by the way, Gideon, that's why I was so uh, good at dissecting your bad arguments, your appeal to old sources, because I think you know my background. You know what I came out of. You know that I was in the movement. And you know that I already knew your breakdown. So it was very easy to just get scholarly resources, books that deal with the subject, and then debunk you on the basis of what those books had to say. Because your arguments were that those communities represented the vast overwhelming majority of the West African diaspora in the Americas, when they don't. Those communities were small and insular, and they are not representative, especially when we look at the genetic evidence. We can get into that, Gideon, if you want, because the genetic evidence is what's really going to kill you on this.
And it's a shame that that's 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 the thing y'all fall back on is the genetics, and you know y'all grossly are misinterpreting it. I don't know if it's purposely or not, but yeah, man, you never could deal with me.
That's not true.
I actually subscribed to your channel a couple of months ago so I can catch you on the live, but somehow I was unsubscribed but you know, I'll keep those, you know, thoughts why that happened to myself. But
Oh man, Gideon.
when
Listen, Gideon.
it comes to the evidence, bro, you're
Hold
gonna
on, if I
fall
could,
flat on your face.
if I could stop you for a second, Gideon. So, um, I have a question for you. Have you ever looked at the Bantu expansion? Are you familiar with the Bantu expansion?
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, tell me about it.
It's just a mass movement of Africans starting in the 8th century all the way up to the 12th century. Started in, they say it started in the Congo area, but that's basically what we have on it.
Okay, you said the 8th century, right? 8th century BC?
No, that would be 8th century AD.
No, you'd be completely wrong. So the Bantu expansion began about roughly like, and so we have the time frame is somewhere between maybe 4000 BC to 2500 BC with Proto-Bantu speakers. And then later, your Bantu speakers start migrating to different parts, and then that has its own different time frame. But if we're talking about the people that gave rise to Bantu speakers, Proto-Bantus, that's roughly like, and for the record, if you don't believe me, like I can show you the articles because I have articles that go into that. So the reason I bring that up is because the Bantu expansion happens from groups that were already in West and Central Africa. You know, that does beg the question. If they're already in West and Central Africa around that time frame, how can they be Abraham's descendants if they pre-exist Abraham? How can they be Isaac and Jacob's descendants if they pre-exist both? How can they be the descendants of the Israelites if they pre-exist Israel?
Right. How long have they been there?
So if we go with the time frame of 2500 BC, that's before there's an Israel.
So you're saying they were there since 2500 BC?
No, yeah, they were there. So the question that I have is if the expansion of Proto-Bantu speakers, notice I'm making a clear distinction of Proto-Bantu speakers, meaning the people that gave rise to your Bantu speakers and to the and also this is the other part because this is the part that slipped my mind. Your Western Central African peoples paternally, by majority, not all, by majority, are the same people as the majority of your Bantu speakers. They're E1B1A carriers. That means you had E1B1A carriers that were in Western Central Africa before there was an Abraham. How can they be the descendants of Abraham if they pre-exist Abraham in a different people from him?
So again, you're saying that the Bantu speaking people, they came there in 2500 BC. That's what,
Proto-Bantu speakers. No,
right.
you heard where I said Proto-Bantu speakers, right?
Where does the name Bantu come from?
So it's a designation that was given the guy off the top of the head. Hold on. So it means people, but it was coined by a specific linguist. I think he was English, but I can't remember his name. But I
Right.
recall talking about this with a Hebrew Israelite. I want to say last year, but the guy's exact name off the top of the head, I don't recall his exact name, but it was a guy who coined the phrase. But what I wanted to say, and he wasn't himself, he was not West African himself. But the point that I wanted to raise is, that's why I was very clear. Proto-Bantu speakers. The expansion begins with Proto-Bantu speakers, and then eventually extends onto Bantu speakers moving forward. So how do you have the ancestors of Bantus already being in West and Central Africa? The people that, that language designation, Bantu, how do we have those people being in West and Central Africa before there's an Abraham if they're supposedly his descendants?
Okay, so again, when I ask you, because I'm asking you these questions for a reason.
I want you to answer my question. I feel like I'm not getting a direct answer. This isn't the opportunity now for you. Here, let me help you.
One chance to speak and
Here, no. You're going to get a chance to answer my question because I noticed that I asked you a question and then you asked me a question. So I've answered your questions. I need you to answer my question directly. So this is my question again. And this is where I want the audience to see. This is where I have to rough these guys up a little bit, because they don't directly answer questions, because they know what it's going to lead to if they actually have to deal with it directly. So Gideon, we're not going to have you ask me questions. You're going to answer questions directly. Gideon, how do you deal with the reality that Proto-Bantu speakers were in Western Central Africa, expanding throughout different parts of the continent before there was an Abraham? How can that be the case if you believe they are the descendants of Abraham?
Again, so since you're dealing with the European timeline, the Bantu expansion does not mention one specific group of people. It's speaking of migration of different peoples at that time. So within that group, we have the E1B1A. And if you was to know anything about the Bantu expansion, that is not indigenous to Africa. That haplotype was introduced into Africa. So
Let me actually stop you. What you just said was just fundamentally wrong. The specific downstream mutation that Western Central Africans and African Americans have absolutely mutated in West Africa. That's number one. And I can show you the relevant paper that goes into that, because you haven't looked at any of this stuff. You're just making baseless assertions. The other part that you've done, that you've made the massive mistake, is not realizing that the people, the majority of those Proto-Bantu speakers and the majority of Bantu speakers are paternally the same people as the majority of African Americans. Even when African Americans don't all descend from either Bantu speakers or Proto-Bantu speakers, they very well may descend from people that were not Bantu speakers, but genetically those populations of people, the Proto-Bantu speakers with your Bantu speakers, with your non-Bantu speakers, the majority of those people in Western Central Africa are paternally, genetically the same people. But we have an issue, because in your worldview, you believe that E1B1A carriers are Israelites. How can they be Israelites if they who keeps speaking, man? Somebody, is that him or is that
that's me speaking. I
I
mean,
know this is where you stay quiet while I'm done. How can those people be the descendants of the biblical Israelites if they pre-exist the biblical Israelites, Gideon?
again, the Bantu people are not one monolith people.
Okay,
They're
you're not
different.
answering my question. I'm noticing that I'm asking a direct question, so I'm going to repeat it again, and I'm going to wait for you to hear all the way through, and then I'm going to get a direct answer. And if I don't get a direct answer, I'm going to Jazzy Jeff you up out of here, and I'm going to bring Nashawn. So Nashawn, just know I'm going to bring you in a second. I just brought you in to let you know. All right, give me a second, because I don't think this is going to last much longer. So Gideon, we're going to do this one more time. How can those people be the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob if they pre-exist Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? I need an answer.
He a coward, Nashawn. He gon'
Yeah, get out of here, man. Yeah, he was never gonna answer that question. What's going on, Nashawn? Hopefully you and I can have a better conversation than the weed head that was in here. What's going on, bro?
All right, look, for real. I'm gonna go to Romans 9 real quick.
Yeah. Well, we're not gonna go into any verses very quick. I need you to deal with what we're actually discussing in this live stream, since this is already a presentation that we're doing. So we know that you believe that the Israelites are specifically the descendants of the slave trade. You don't believe that. Now, let me ask you carefully. Do you believe Jewish people in any capacity, that you have any Israelites among them?
Not exactly. I believe they are converts. Yes.
So, what I wanted to ask you regarding your claim for the people of the slave trade, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Gideon. How do you reconcile the fact that the descendants of the slave trade descend from people that were in Western Central Africa before there was an Abraham, before there was an Isaac, and before there was a Jacob. How can they be the descendants of Jacob if they pre-exist in a people separate from Jacob before Jacob was even born?
Well, what I'm actually going to say here is that it's very complex. I mean, there's always been Africans in Africa, as I can so say, because Ham, you believe in God, right?
Wait, I'm noticed. I don't hear an answer to my question. I feel like you're kind of giving me an explanation for something else. Can I get a direct answer?
Well, I'm sharing my knowledge and what I truly think and what I truly feel about the subject, because I do have some things I want to say, but but you believe in God, don't you?
So I believe in God, but I wanted to establish a point. Did you have peoples on the earth according to the biblical text before there was an Israel? Meaning, was Israel the first nation to exist, or did Israel come into existence as a nation after nations were already established on the earth?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna answer like this. Israel was the very
no.
last
Listen to what I
nation.
just asked you. No. I don't want you to just answer just like this. I asked a direct question. Were there nations on the face of the earth before Israel became a nation, before Israel even existed? Were there already people, nations on the face of the earth?
Yes, there was.
Okay, so if there were nations already on the face of the earth, are you surprised that there were people in Western Central Africa before there was an Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
Of course not, because Hamites always lived in Africa. Hamites always lived there. Cush is the Hebrew word for Ethiopia. Ethiopia, what was it? What was it? Nubia? Yeah, it was kind of in that Nubia section. Like it'd be southern Egypt, northern Sudan as today. You got Ethiopians over there in East Africa. You got another Ethiopian kingdom right there, right south, about south of it. Because right there you got Egypt that came from Mizraim. You had Put, which is Libya, because Put is the Hebrew word for Libya. You had Africans already in Africa. I mean, it should come to no surprise that there was already people in Africa, because the Hamites have been here well before Abraham. I'm talking about when Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth walked the earth, and after the flood and everything, and when the Hamites had spread across, had migrated to their lands, which would be Africa, in and around Africa. It comes to no surprise that there actually be tribes in West Africa that was already there. Because if you want to be truthful,
hold on, Nashawn, because I feel like, no disrespect, but I feel like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I feel like you're going on a rambling session. Just hear me out for a second. I'm trying to help you see the issue here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you believe that the people of Western Central Africa are Israelites?
I don't believe all are, no.
Okay.
I believe there's certain tribes and certain ethnic groups that are, yes.
Okay, let's walk with this together. What are some of the ethnic groups that you think are Israelites?
Well, you got the homemade Jews who have their own central temple.
Forget about people making claims. I'm just saying, what specific tribal groups, even if they don't make a claim, like for example, do you think the Mandinka are Israelites?
I believe there's a possibility.
Okay, for example, do you think the Yoruba are Israelites?
Yeah, very much possibility. Yes, I do believe that the Yoruba can be Israelites, because let me explain why. Because just like in Hebrew, I forgot what scripture it was in the New Testament. I gotta look it up. To where it says, no more. To where it says, don't call any man Abba, because only one is heaven, because only one is your father, and that's the Lord thy God that liveth in heaven. And Yoruba language, the word for father is Baba. In Hebrew, it'll be Abba. So Abba, Baba, it's kind of like, it's reminiscently the same.
Yeah. Do you know that there are cultures that are not Israelite that also use Baba and Abu, which is close to Abba, which is the within the same kind of language family, and that's like, for example, Arab speakers. Do you think that saying Baba or Abu now therefore means that the people group are Israelites? Like, do you really think in that fashion? Because that doesn't seem to follow logically.
Well, you gotta understand. It makes perfectly sense. Now, I mean, it makes perfectly sense in the world.
Hold on, bro. I just
explain. It makes perfectly sense, and it makes all the sense in the world that amongst Arab countries, you would actually see the word Abba or Abu being used, because it's a simple fact that Ishmael was Abraham's son, and Abraham spoke to his son Ishmael in what? Hebrew, because Ishmael was a Hebrew through Abraham.
You're missing the point, though. We're not arguing about Abraham and Ishmael. We're talking about the people of Israel. You're making the argument.
Well, you just brought the Arabs.
No, I'm not. You notice I'm still. Do you notice I'm still talking?
Go ahead.
Here, let me help you. Let me make sure you're listening, because this is where I usually have to do this, and people wonder, "Oh, Faithful, why don't you let them talk?" Because if I let you guys talk, what ends up happening is that we get rambling sessions, and we don't get direct answers, and we kind of get like skirting around the issue. So notice how I brought up tribal groups, and then now we somehow shifted to talking about linguistics. Let's try to bring you back, because I feel like there's a shift in focus. So, and I'm trying my hardest not to use my unlearned friend and be aggressive and be condescending. I'm trying to do this in an even tone. I'm trying to do this in a way where I'm not trying to be disrespectful, because I want to try to treat you with dignity, but I also want you to respect me and actually be honest. But I feel like you're already anticipating what I'm going to say, and then you're trying to avoid having the answer because you feel like I'm going to trap you. But if the truth refutes what you're saying, then you need to go with truth and not with what you personally want to believe. So listen to me, Nashan. The reason I asked you about Yoruba, the reason that, and for the record, just to deal very quickly with what you had said, fam, you have groups of people that you would call Hamites that use the phrase Abba, like Ethiopians, and they use the phrase Abu because of the influence via Arabic that came into their society. That doesn't therefore make all Ethiopians Israelites, right? I think you can agree with that. Just like it wouldn't follow that somebody using a term that sounds like another term therefore means they must be or could be Israelites. Like Baba and Abba, it doesn't logically follow that if a term sounds like something else, therefore the group that is using that term must be Israelites. That's actually an example of the etymological fallacy.
But you just said that the reason the Ethiopians have the word Abu or Abba in their language comes from the Arabs, which I already had told you that Ishmael was Abraham's son. I believe we all know this, and Ishmael would have had Hebrew. He would have called his father Abba.
You don't seem to track arguments. Listen closely. Are Ethiopians Abraham's children? Ethiopians?
No, but I believe even what you are trying to say, like you just may even cut yourself right there, because you just
cut myself at all. No, my friend, I don't think you track arguments very well. Let me help you understand your argument here. Keep your mic muted so I can explain this to you, because I feel like you don't listen very clearly. Your argument was the Yoruba, they use the word Baba for father, and the Bible says Abba for father. Therefore, they must be the Israelites. And what I did was I countered that by showing you example of people groups that are not Israelites that also use the term, because you're not paying attention to your own argument, that you presented that as a piece of evidence. And I'm saying that doesn't track logically, that because a group uses a term that sounds similar to another, or if they use a term that another group uses, therefore they are the same group. That's literally the false equivalence, because you're focusing in on similarity but ignoring the differences. So look up the false equivalence. Look up the false equivalence fallacy whenever you get a chance. So this way you understand why I pointed that out to you. All right.
Well, let me just speak real quick. The example that you tried to use basically in yourself wasn't even valid, because you just said that the reason the Ethiopians use a word similar to Abba, like Abu, was because it was from the Arab influence, which
So
makes sense
listen closely to me. I know, but I need you to listen closely. No, I want you to listen closely because you're not tracking your own argument. Brother Willie, so you can jump into this because I want him to see this because now this is just stubbornness on his end. Willie, by the way, are you able to hear us, Brother Willie? Hold on. Keep your mic muted. Man. Keep your mic muted, man. Brother Willie, are you able to hear us, bro? Willie. I think the brother Willie might have stepped away, man. All right, check this out, Nashawn. While the brother Willie comes back. The problem with your argument is that you said that's the evidence that they're Israelites. I don't think you realize that right there is where you shot yourself in the foot, because if I show you another people group that are not Israelites using that term, guess who actually makes the stronger argument? I do, because then I can say we don't have to speculate on a group using a term to therefore say, oh, this group must be Israelites. Here, Nashawn, you got a group in Germany that uses the word Abba to refer to father. Jesus used the term Abba to refer to father. Is that group in Germany, are they Israelites because they use the term Abba and Jesus used the term Abba? Can you answer that question for me, please? Because I'm only using your line of reasoning against you. Can you answer that? Oh my goodness, man. Oh, man. Listen, y'all, listen. I promise you, when I come into these conversations, I really don't come in with the idea of wanting to condescend the person that I'm talking to. But when you get guys like this that come in here with the level of arrogancy that they're approaching the conversation with, and you're trying to help them see, and I mean, I really want them to see this in a really non-condescending fashion. But like and you'll notice that I'm trying to patiently walk him through it. It's the combination of the arrogancy, the lack of even catching. Like, Willie, you were paying attention, right? Brother Willie?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, were you hearing the conversation that we had?
Yeah.
Willie, okay, so you heard his argument. I said, do you think the Yoruba are Israelites? Well, yeah, I believe they can be because they use a term Baba that sounds like Abba. And I was like, okay, cool. So I asked them about Ethiopians, and I said they use the term Abba and Abu. Should we assume that they're Israelites? And then he tried to turn that around as if, oh, you're cutting yourself. Like, how am I cutting myself when it's his argument?
Well, I mean, that's one of the...
Yeah, my tablet went out.
Well, hold on a second, bro. Let Willie finish his thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that argument doesn't make any sense. I mean, you know, you can't sit there and say that because of the way that words are pronounced that automatically means the people that speak that language are Israelites. That doesn't even make any sense, and there's no proof in that.
Yeah, I mean, now hold on, Nashawn, hold on. So I asked you a question. You have a group in Germany that claims they're Jews, and they use the term Abba to refer to father. Jesus, who was an Israelite, uses the term Abba to refer to father. Should we assume that that group in Germany that claims to be Jews are Israelites because they also use the term Abba? Just using your line of reasoning, because a group uses a term, therefore they must be the Israelites.
Well, you also got to understand that there was a group of people named the Khazars. Can you answer my question? Half Hebrew, half Slavic, half Germanic.
Can you actually answer my? Can I get a direct answer to my question? By the way, here, let me help you understand, because you seem to not catch arguments. Is the Yoruba language Hebrew, Nashawn? Is that Hebrew? The Yoruba dialect, is that Hebrew?
I mean, there's certain words and certain phrases.
I'm not talking about certain words. I said, is the Yoruba dialect, is the language itself, is that Hebrew?
Similar. I say similar.
No, it's not similar. Actually, okay. Watch this. I'm going to put you on the spot. Show me how it's similar. Go ahead. Show me how it's similar.
Well, there's certain words and certain phrases that are used in the language.
Oh, you mean like Abba, right? That's a similar phrase. So when Jews that you reject use the term Abba, even if they speak Germanic elsewhere, but they're using the term Abba, that makes them Israelites because they're. Matter of fact, that makes their language Hebrew when they're speaking Yiddish, right? Because it has the word Abba in it, and because the word Abba is a Hebrew word, then therefore Yiddish is Hebrew by your logic. The same way that Yoruba is Hebrew because it has certain words that are loan words into the language that are derived from Hebrew origin. Oh, well, that makes the language Hebrew. By the same logic, Yiddish is Hebrew.
But yeah, but listen
do you not see how that works?
But listen to what I'm saying. Look, the Khazars had basically changed their language.
No, bro. Listen, hold on. Listen to me. I asked
you a question. The Hebrew language.
I asked you a question. So Yiddish uses Hebrew loan words. That makes Yiddish Hebrew by your logic because Yoruba uses Hebrew loan words. Therefore, Yoruba is also Hebrew. Do you see how illogical that is, man? You don't see how that's illogical?
I mean, yeah, if you actually look it up, you know, yeah, Yoruba actually does mean Ephraim.
No, it doesn't actually.
Oh, yes, it does.
Here, let's actually put you on the spot. Let's actually look at what Yoruba actually means. No, let's actually, back yourself up. Give me your resource that says that. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, there's a number of people. Yeah, you can look it up on the internet.
No, give me your resource. Don't give me a look it up. Give me your source. Source up.
The source can be in the Yoruba people themselves that claim that.
No, bro. I have. Yeah, go ahead.
Nashawn, if you're the one that's making these claims, so you have to back them up with evidence. You can't just tell people to look stuff up on the internet.
I mean, consequently, we got a benign Ephraim, sons of Ephraim that live amongst the Yoruba.
Bro,
consequently, we do have that.
I have a friend who is Yoruba. I have a friend who is Yoruba. Listen closely. This is how I'm going to rebut you. I have a friend who's Yoruba who literally says that the Yoruba don't have any history about being Israelites, that the language is not Hebrew. Stay muted, bro. They don't have any evidence of their language being Hebrew. And because he's actually Yoruba, therefore, just using your logic, if I just invoke somebody, therefore that debunks your claim. Do you see how I'm just using your own logic against you? You're not being logical. So I'm using the same irrationality that you are. Like it's ridiculous that you can't catch that I'm pointing out the flaws in your own argument, and you're not sharp enough to catch that you're making these mistakes, man.
I mean, we can agree to disagree because there's a like I said before, benign.
We're not just merely agreeing to disagree, bro. Listen, we're not just merely agreeing to disagree. You're making basic mistakes in logic in having this conversation. Like you're committing all kinds of logical fallacies, etymological fallacy, false equivalence, where for example, the etymological fallacy is where you're trying to find the words and sounds and trying to tie them together and then trying to make a conclusion based on that. False equivalence is when you look for similarities but ignore differences, right? And for the record, when I pointed out that group in Germany, they speak Yiddish and they also speak Hebrew. So when I say Hebrew, I mean the Hebrew that is actually in the biblical text. I'm talking about their learned class. I'm talking about your Orthodox types that read Hebrew, that actually make Hebrew scrolls. Those guys know Hebrew. Those guys. I'm not speaking for the entirety of all Jews everywhere or anybody who self-identifies as Jewish. I'm not making that argument. I'm talking about your religious Jews of the Orthodox variety that actually learn the language and actually utilize it liturgically. They actually know Hebrew. Yiddish is the communicative language within the community where they communicate with each other. They utilize Yiddish as the language within their community as a day-to-day language. but when they're religiously dealing with the text, they will utilize Hebrew.
What about Benai Ephraim? What about Benai Ephraim, the son of Ephraim?
Passages from Hebrew in the actual Hebrew text. You do know that, right?
Yeah. Okay. What about Benai Ephraim, the sons of Ephraim, that where their language is actually half Hebrew itself?
Okay, what is your evidence that their language
to being mother and yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you. I have a question for you. So when you say Hebrew, say something in Hebrew for me so I know what it sounds like.
I guess I can say Bayith.
No, say more, like speak. Like go ahead and speak. Say a lot.
I know a lot of Hebrew, but I'm not as fluent as it. I'm not
asking you to be fluent. I'm just like for example, is this Hebrew? Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Is that Hebrew?
I'm not 100% sure if it is or if it isn't, because I'm not.
Do you want to know what's ironic about what I? Let me say this here, bro. Like I don't need you to ramble on and on. Just listen. Do you understand that I just quoted you the first line of the first words of the Bible? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. That's literally the first line of the Bible.
Yeah, Shemayim means sky or heaven, and
it's literally Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Okay, so we can agree that that's Hebrew. I know some words. Listen, bro, I hear you. We can agree that that's Hebrew, correct? Can we agree? Can we agree?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
You guess so. It's the biblical text. I hope you would agree. So what I wanted to ask you is that relevant group, is their language like the syntax, the word conjugations, is it that or is it something else?
Are we talking about Benai Ephraim?
The group that you mentioned, yes.
They have a lot of Hebrew in their language. Let me just actually, I'm gonna just get my book real quick so I can quote for you.
Fam, listen closely. I want you to listen closely because you're so all over the place. You don't tend to track with arguments. Okay. If a group uses Hebrew, they must be Israelites. Ashkenazi Jews that are religious, that know Hebrew, use Hebrew. They are Israelites by your logic. Do you see how that we would have to conclude that if we follow your line of reasoning? Using a particular language therefore makes you an Israelite means Ashkenazis that are religious, that know Hebrew and speak Hebrew and utilize Hebrew religiously are Israelites by your criteria. Are you not following the line of reasoning that you're utilizing? All I'm doing is applying it to another people group that you don't want to accept.
Yeah, for real. I'm gonna just read it right out there from Babylon Timbuktu. These Jews claim that their ancestors.
So hold on a second. Babylon to Timbuktu is not a reliable historical resource. Number one,
it was quoted Lost Tribes of Myth by Ellen H. Gabi.
I understand that, but here's the problem. What I'm asking you though is if somebody speaks a language, therefore they're an Israelite. Ashkenazis speak Hebrew. Are they Israelites?
Not exactly. No, I don't believe that.
Okay, so then your argument for language goes out the window now. So let's dismiss language because language can't be the criteria that we have to use.
You cut now.
Yo, yeah, I ain't hear him.
Okay, let me do this. Okay, hopefully, am I doing good now? Hopefully, I didn't cut out. Now, am I still good?
I can hear you now.
Okay, Nashan. So language cannot be the criteria because if we're going to use that as the criterion for what we're going to determine who is or isn't an Israelite, then you just made a case for Ashkenazis without even realizing it. So it can't be language. Okay, so now we have to take that off the table. What else do you have? You need something else if it's not language.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what I was about to say, I'm just reading through here real quick.
No, I don't want you to read through anything. Give me evidence that you thought of yourself. Don't give me Rudolph Windsor, who has been long dismissed as a reliable historian, a guy who literally would, like, if through peer review, would get torn apart. And there are guys that have backgrounds in history who have torn apart his stuff. And matter of fact, there's a brother who has a whole presentation showing all the basic mistakes that he makes. And I'm trying to get him on the channel so we can actually redo that presentation. But I want you to deal directly with what I'm asking you. Okay. So you're going to make all these arguments, right? Culture, because the last time you and I spoke, you said culture, linguistics. But if we use culture and linguistics, you're smuggling Ashkenazis in without even realizing it. So it can't be culture and linguistics then, right? Because you can have a group of people that don't, according to you, descend from Jacob, that have the culture, that have the linguistics, and that wouldn't make them Israelites. So what else do you have?
I mean, and proving that I'm an Israelite, I have a lot of information actually, but you know, it's only if you are here to listen, to freely listen, you know, I will explain that to you.
Nashawn, you've been doing nothing but rambling so far all throughout the course of this conversation, and you have yet to back up any claims that you presented, even when put on the spot, dude. I mean, either back up your claims with evidence, or you don't have any evidence for anything you're saying, which you're pretty much showing that all throughout this conversation so far.
Yeah.
What about we deal with the curses of Deuteronomy then? How about deal with that?
Let's go through the curses of Deuteronomy. We did this last time, and I can already see this going into like a rambling session where you just ignore all of the evidence to the contrary in Deuteronomy. Here, I'm going to ask the question that I asked you last time. Do you believe African Americans as a people group are the biblical Israelites?
Yes.
And I already know that you believe that there are West African groups. Here, let's just say the Igbos. Let's say, who else do you think? Like, name me the people that you think are the Israelites. Just like 5 groups that you think. Matter of fact, who do you think are the Israelites? Because it can't just be African Americans. Is it just the descendants of slavery? Is it also most West Africans, some West Africans? Like, give me. So this way we can frame this with Deuteronomy 28. So what groups do you think are the Israelites currently?
Oh, well, yeah, there's quite a few groups. I mean,
give me it in a summarized version. Give me the summarized, bro. Listen, give me the summarized version of that.
All right, then you got Siracos, which are also known as Sonike.
No. Give me a summarized version, bro. A summarized, like for example, I think a significant amount of West Africans, most African Americans, and who else?
Okay, I can say the Igbo. I can say the Soninke.
Fam,
do
you not understand? Bro, listen to me. I'm trying to help you, man, but you're making it so difficult to have this conversation.
I'm not making it difficult. Like,
you're making it very difficult. Igbos are West Africans. That's why I said a significant amount of West Africans, most African Americans, and who else? Most Caribbean people.
Yeah. Caribbean blacks as well. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that makes up most of the people of Israel, according to you?
It makes up 3 tribes. You know, the Haitian black, the Caribbean black, and the.
What do you mean 3? Wait. Hold on. Let me stop you. Do you believe in the 12 tribes chart?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, man, I'm sounding like that Muslima Cora, man. Listen, I don't want to sound like her. Yeah, okay, perfect, beautiful. Now let me stop. Shout out to Apocrypha is not canon. I saw a Hebrew Israelite try to use Sirach 24:8-9 to claim that Jesus was created, which clearly contradicts our current Bible. Please
Yeah, he's cutting in and out.
Depending on what group of Christians you're going to talk to, you're going to get a different answer. So most evangelicals, Protestants, do not believe that Sirach is scripture. However, if you talk to liturgical Christians like your Eastern Orthodox, your Oriental Orthodox, your Roman Catholics, they do believe Sirach is scripture. So it would depend on what denomination of Christian you're talking to. As far as Sirach 24, 8 through 9, there's actually a good article, and because I'm in the middle of the conversation, I cannot access it. But as soon as I finish this conversation, I'll post it in the chat for you. It deals with specifically that verse. And it actually explains the distinction there. And it actually comes from a book from a guy who is a scholar who is Eastern Orthodox. His name is Father Stephen the Young. And the book is, I believe, I think it's gosh, let me actually pull it up if I could actually, because I don't want to lose my train of thought having this conversation with this gentleman. But I'll put the Stephen the Young quotation, and I'll find a way to see if I can put the book, because it's in PDF format, if I can actually upload it somewhere, and then I can in fact, you know what, Jeremy, my Instagram is linked to this channel. Reach out to me there, and I will give you a free copy of that book, and I'll give you the page number, and I'll point you in the direction of it, because that relevant scholar actually points out how that verse is not even remotely hinting at what the Johnny Come Latelys claim it's talking about. So I hope that answers your question, though, man. But you asked the question about, bro, you notice I'm talking to this guy, bro. Keep your mic muted while I'm talking. Here, let me put you in the back while I finish. So as far as it being canon or not being canon, I'll provide an article that presents the viewpoint from both a liturgical perspective and a non-liturgical perspective, and I'll let you be the judge of that. For the record, I am evangelical, so we're clear on that. But if you wanted a balanced view so you could actually, decide for yourself, I'll send you an article that deals with that as well. Reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is in the about section of this channel. All right. So with that being said, now, Nishan, all right, go ahead, man.
I mean, yes. Can we deal with Romans 9?
No, we're not going to deal with Romans 9. We're going to deal with Deuteronomy. Remember you said the curses, or did you forget that you mentioned the curses?
I'm gonna stay within Deuteronomy. I'm gonna stay within Deuteronomy. Yeah, so
Willie, correct me if I'm wrong, but does this guy seem to jump around from point to point? Like, we were just talking about the curses, now he wanted to jump to like something else. Am I wrong? And like, he brings up a point, we start dealing with the point, and then he then jumps. Hold on, bro. Am I incorrect in that assessment, Willie? Because I don't want to seem like I'm being mean right now. Am I incorrect in the assessment that he brings up a point, we deal with the point, and then he wants to jump to something else? Brother Willie, are you able to hear us, Brother Willie? All right, well. Oh, yeah, Brother Willie, he's got to take care of something on his end. So, all right, so we're in Deuteronomy. So I'm going to ask the question, Nishan, do the descendants of the slave trade, Latinos and Native Americans, since you said you believe in the 12 tribes chart, do they fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses?
I'm gonna answer this in a very intelligible way. Yeah, so when we deal with it, it's like, yeah.
Did you notice that I asked you a direct question? Do they fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses?
I'm answering you. I'm trying to give an answer. All because something is just not direct, as in itself, a direct answer. I mean, look, for real, at one point or another, a lot of curses are in the land. A lot of curses are outside the land.
Did you notice that I asked you a question? Do they fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses?
I say some.
I just named that. Okay, some. Say that one more time. You said some, right?
Yes, I did, because all the curses. I mean, yeah, because
okay, stop. So you just said some, but I don't think you realize that you just debunked your own perspective. I'll tell you why. because you just named the people that you believe are the Israelites. Because the 12 tribes chart deals with the people you think are the biblical Israelites. So you said that the biblical Israelites, according to your perspective, don't fit all the curses. But what does Deuteronomy 28:15 say? But if you will not obey the voice of the Lord your God, or be careful to do all his commandments and his statutes that I command you this day, then all these curses, did that say all or did that say some? All these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Therefore,
at one point,
you just
one
proved
point
by now hold on. You just proved that the people that you think are Israelites do not fit all the curses. And since you think you have to fit all the curses to be the Israelites, you just proved that they're not the Israelites by your standard, not my standard, your standard.
I mean, look, look, for real. At one point in time or another, different curses apply at different times. I mean, the
I
natives
didn't argue about, so you're not listening closely. I never said the curses happen all at once. See, your inability to track with arguments means that you're left having to misrepresent my position. I never said the curses all happen at one time or in 1 year. That's a straw man in my perspective. I've never said that, and you can't find a video on my channel where I've asserted that. I've always maintained that even if you want to argue that the curses are cyclical, when you say some, you're contradicting your argument because it says the Israelites, who you think the 12 tribes are in the 12 tribes chart, you're saying it's some, but the biblical text says all. I didn't say it happens all at once. That's your argument against my perspective, which I never made. That's a misrepresentation of my perspective.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, at one point in time, okay, wait a minute.
Okay, listen closely because I don't think you pay attention to arguments. No, bro. I want you to pay it. I want you to walk with the argument that you just made. You just said they only fit some of the curses, but I showed you a verse that says all the curses. So if it's all the curses and you think the 12 tribes chart represents all the Israelites, then that would mean that the people that are on that 12 tribes chart breakdown, I'm not talking about the actual 12 tribes mentioned in the Bible. I mean the 12 tribes chart breakdown that says so-called blacks are Judah, Cubans are Manasseh, Ephraim are so-called Puerto Ricans, Uruguay to Colombia are Asher, or Uruguay to Panama are Asher. No, that's not. And pardon me, Uruguay to Colombia or Asher. The problem is that you have just refuted your own chart breakdown that you're subscribing to because you didn't actually create it.
Not exactly, no.
Yeah, you did because you said that it's some.
You just had said, hold on, let me just speak real quick. Let me just say this real quick. Even you just said,
did you not just say some?
Even you just didn't have said that I did not.
Did you say some?
I said the curses apply to the Israel. I mean, all the curses do not happen in a sequence of once.
Nobody is arguing about, bro. Listen, I don't think you're listening. I don't think you're able to track arguments. I never said it happens all at once. The argument was, do blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses? I just named you all the people that you think are the Israelites. Therefore, you some. But the problem is the text says that bro, listen, bro, here, let me put you in the back because I want to make sure you're listening and not interrupting. I want you to follow how the argument falls apart on you. The Israelites are, according to you, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. When I asked you, because the 12 tribes chart posits that those are the Israelites, I asked you, do those people fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses? Because you believe you have to fit the curses. And you said that the people that you think are the Israelites only fit some of the curses. But when we go to Deuteronomy 28:15, remember, you want to go to this chapter and use the curses as the barometer. Well, it says all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. It didn't say all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you all at one time. Yes, I would agree that this is indicating that it's going to happen over different periods of time. But you said that the people that you think are Israelites only fit some of the curses. That's where you failed. How is it that you weren't able to understand that simple argument, man?
Well, no, let me just say this. Even what you just said right there, that you even believe yourself that it doesn't happen in all one sequence. That
Bro,
at one point in time,
listen closely. When I said do they fit all, most, or some, did I say all at once, or did I say all, whether it be during
I say a lot. I say
duration?
a lot. And I said a lot,
bro. I don't think this conversation is going to continue much longer if you're unable to even process a basic question, because this is where I have to get a little sharp, because I'm realizing, bro, like, you don't have to have a genius IQ to understand the question that's being asked to you. You seem to think that when I said, do they fit all, most, or some, that I'm saying it's all at once. But I never said all at once. So you shouldn't assume that that's what I mean by all, most, or some. Now that we've established that, let's go back to the question one more time. Let's see if you're able to actually answer it in a meaningful fashion, because I don't think you're able to answer this meaningfully. Do Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who you think are all 12 tribes, all the Israelites, do they fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses?
I say a lot of them. I'll go as far as to say that.
Let's do this again. Do you have to fit all the curses as a people to be the Israelites?
Well, like I said before, that was a key point that I just had hit right there with you. That it just doesn't happen all in one sequence.
I didn't say all in one season. That's not what I'm arguing. Again, bro, I can't believe that we have to do this again. We have to walk you. It's almost like I'm walking a child through this. And I hate to disrespect you by equating you with a child, but it's like your reasoning capacity doesn't allow you to actually understand the argument. I'm not arguing that this happens all at once. Are we clear on that? So let's be clear, because if I catch you again making the argument at all at once, I'm just going to boot you out of here, because I'm going to assume that you're trolling at this point. Keep your mic muted while I'm talking. So what I want you to do is to understand that I am not arguing all at once when I say what I'm about to say. I am asking, as a people group, do Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who you think are the biblical Israelites, who you assume are the biblical Israelites, do they fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses? And by all, most, or some, I mean over periods of time, not all at once. Do they fit all, most, or some?
For the sake of argument, I just say, I don't know how else to answer you, because you don't
understand the question.
A lot of curses do fit.
Listen again. What about all, most, or some are you not understanding that you're having such a difficulty that we're stuck here, and we've been stuck here for several minutes now because you don't seem to catch it? What are you not catching in that question?
If you want to deal with slavery itself,
what are you not catching in that question?
If you want to deal with slavery itself,
what are you not catching in the question that I asked you?
Look, listen to what I'm trying to say.
No, I want you to answer my question. What are you not catching? What are you? No, I don't want to just hear you out. I want you to answer my question. What are you not tracking in that question that I asked? What part of that are you having a disconnect at?
Look, just give me 2 minutes to explain myself.
No, I'm not going to give you 2 minutes. I need you to, bro, answer my question.
I say most of the curses.
No, bro, I don't want you to. At this point now, I want to know where the lacuna in your reasoning is. Because how am I asking simple questions and you're not able to track with simple questions? Even after I explain it, even after I qualify it, even after I give it nuance, you're still unable to understand the question. What about the question are you not able to understand?
Faithful, I believe that with this, even with your channel, I believe like everything. Which
what
you
about
can't
the question that I just asked you? Are you not able to understand, bro?
I didn't say I wasn't. I couldn't understand your question. I said you made a solid point of what I was trying to get at. A key point of what I was trying to get at, that all these curses just don't happen in one sequence. There's different
What
stages
about
in
my
time.
question were you unable to understand, man? Bro, we're going in
time.
circles right now. I need you to answer what I just asked you. You're rambling on about something else. I already dealt with that. If you couldn't understand what all, most, or some went, I already qualified it when I asked the question again, when I rephrased it. And even then you couldn't understand it. So what is it that you do not understand about the question? And for the person who's in the chat, look at the join link. The join link is in there for you to come in here. If any question that you want to ask in the chat, you can very easily ask in the live stream. There is the join link. Do not keep asking questions over and over in the chat.
But this is what I'm saying, man. Look, even with what you just had said, that's a key point that I was just trying to hit with this. You just even had admitted it yourself that all the curses don't.
Bro, I need you to answer my question. What was it about me qualifying that all, most, or some doesn't mean all at once? It means that the people that you think are Israelite fit the curses, even if it's over many generations, over a long period of time. And so I'm asking, do Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans fit all the curses, most of the curses, or some of the curses over a long period and duration of time, over many generations? Do they fit all, most, or some as a people? As a people,
I believe as a people, we do fit all, but
okay, as a people. Thank you. So now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting, bro. I don't need you to restate what we already agreed, that it's not at one time, it's over a large period of time. Cool. So now I need you to deal with 52, because now you're going to show me when over various periods of time this happened to the people that identify as African American today, Latinos, and Native Americans under their proverb and byword names. When did this happen to them over many generations? Tell me when. Give me the historical evidence. They shall besiege you in all your towns until your high and fortified walls in which you trusted come down throughout all your land. And they shall besiege you in all your towns throughout all your land, which the Lord your God has given you, which is in reference to the land of Israel, according to Deuteronomy 27, 1-3. When did Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans under their proverb and byword name? Bro, mute your mic while I'm talking. When did Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? When did Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans as a people group experience 52 over large periods of time under those proverb and byword names, under the name African American, under the name Jamaican, Bahamian, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Colombian? When did they experience this?
This is what I'm saying, man. Listen, hear me out. And this curse was fulfilled, but it was fulfilled in 70 AD when the Romans had seized Jerusalem and many cities. You actually look it up. Most cities of Judea was actually put at war against the Romans.
What does this have to do with Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans?
It has a lot to do with it. I'm gonna show you. Yeah, you go to.
Tell me how it has. Go ahead. Tell me.
Go to Luke chapter 21.
Luke 21 and 24 has nothing to do with the transatlantic slave trade. Do you know how we know?
Let me just read.
Because if you read Luke 21, starting at verse 20, it's going to talk about the armies surrounding Jerusalem, which is 70 AD. The people that are in, listen to me, the people that were taken into slavery to the Americas during the transatlantic slave trade, their ancestors were in Western Central Africa before there was even a nation of Israel. Therefore, they were there historically. That's why I brought up the Bantu expansion. That's why I mentioned those groups in West Africa. That's why you ended up going on tangents about language, because what I was going to point out earlier is that the people groups that you see there in Western Central Africa today, and the people groups that are related to them, like your various Bantu speakers, they have a common father side marker known as E1B1A by majority. Most African Americans, 60% are E1B1A. 75 to 95% of Western Central Africans, which would include Bantu speakers and non-Bantu speakers, are E1B1A dominant.
Okay, if you want to deal with
E1B1A, the downstream mutation that African Americans, West Africans, and those various people that I mentioned, including Proto-Bantu speakers and your Bantu speakers, they are all E1B1A by majority. But their downstream mutation mutated in West Africa before there was even an Abraham. How can they be the descendants of Abraham if they pre-exist Abraham? How can they be the descendants of Isaac if they pre-exist Isaac? How can they be the descendants of Jacob if they pre-exist Jacob? Do you not understand how this is killing your argument? Because you can't give me an explanation for that, because it's a reality and you want to live in fantasy land.
You know what? Let me just say this. Yes, what I was basically trying to say here is all the curses just don't happen at once. You even with what you just didn't have said, that was a key point that you just had hit at, and what you just didn't have said. You even admitted it yourself that all the curses just don't happen in one sequence. Now,
okay, do you understand that that's not my argument? My argument isn't that it happens in one sequence. So what you're doing, though, is you're avoiding the burden of proof. Because if you think that it's going to happen over many generations, then you need to show me the people that you think are the Israelites experiencing the curses that this chapter mentions in the fashion that it mentions over many generations, including in the generations that have proverb and byword names. Because the way, see, you don't realize that this is where your argument falls apart. You're saying you identify Israelites by the curses. That's how you know African Americans are the Israelites, because they supposedly fit the curses. Until we actually look at the curses and realize that they have things like the land in view. And then now when I ask you, well, when did this happen to African Americans in the land of Israel? When does this happen to Native Americans over many generations? Show me an example. Point to an event where you can say, yes, in 15 something, Native Americans as a people group were in the land of Israel going through Deuteronomy 28:52, just like it states. You don't have that. There is no historical record for that. That
yes,
never occurred.
It's
no, it's not, because Native Americans, here, sit there for a second so you can hear. You're assuming the ancestors of Native Americans are the Israelites. The problem is you can't demonstrate that. You're just going to assert it and assert it and assert it and go in a circle and a circle and a circle. So what I'm asking you, since you think the curses identify people who you think potentially descend from Jacob as the Israelites, well, virtually all of the curses have the land in view. It's not just 52. I use 52 as one of the many examples. I could literally do this with 21. I can do this with 36. I can do this with 63. I can do this with 68. I can do this with virtually every curse in this chapter. The problem is that if I'm asking you, when did Native Americans experience this under their proverb and byword name? So this way we know that this is a sign and a wonder that they're the Israelites. And your answer is, yeah, it happened in 70 AD. All you're doing is you're going in a circle. They're the Israelites because their ancestors experienced 70 AD. And because their ancestors experienced 70 AD, they're the Israelites. You notice how that's a circle? There's no way to actually qualify what you just said with that line of reasoning. All right, so I'm going to bring you back in.
What I'm just saying here is it's just the same. It's the exact same thing that you just said. Well, what you just said, and just admitted yourself is so much. It's so much an answer itself to this whole thing that we're just going through right now. To this whole thing we're just going through right now. What you just said yourself is the answer to this whole argument. Because you just said
answer that you're Israelite and that the people you think are Israelites are not Israelites. That's the answer. Because that's what I've been proving right now.
Just don't happen in one sequence. All the curses just don't happen in one
listen
sequence.
closely. Can I ask you a question? Did you ever hear me say the curses happen in one sequence? Willie, have you ever heard me say the curses happen in one sequence?
You admitted
all of the live streams and all of the live streams that I do on this channel. Have you ever heard me say that the curses happen in one sequence, Brother Willie? If you can come off mic, if you're there, because I think you might still be away. I want the people who are my frequent listeners. Have all of you ever seen me say on this channel, the curses happen all at one time? Have you ever heard me say that? Can those of you type in the chat, my consistent listeners like Lauren, like Ashley, have any of you ever heard me say, like Facts, like the brother Facts, GDM? Have any of you ever heard me say the curses happen in one sequence? No, right? Never. No. Exactly. Keep them coming. I want this guy to see that you guys who listen to me attentively have never heard me say that. Now, Nashawn, now that we established that I have not said that, look, we got more. Notice that.
But this is what I'm saying. I never said that you said that. Unless I said that you said the complete opposite.
So then why would you bring up?
I said you admitted the complete opposite. That's what I actually had said.
No, bro, listen to me.
Just don't happen in one
Why
sequence.
would you bring
at
up
one point in time,
Nashawn,
or one period of time,
Nashawn,
or another?
I need you to mute your mic. I need you to mute your mic. Here, mute your mic. Why would you bring up a superfluous point, a point that's completely irrelevant that I haven't brought up? Why would you even bring that up as an objection if that was never raised as an objection? That makes no sense. What you just said is illogical. If I've never raised that as a point, then bringing that up as a counterpoint does nothing for your argument. It's really just a misrepresentation of my position.
Well, it's not a misrepresentation because you even admitted it yourself. This is not what I'm saying. I've been saying this whole time.
Wait, hold on. What did I admit? What did I admit?
You admitted that all the curses just don't happen in one sequence. At one point or another, or at one time or another, different curses.
And wait, hold on. I hear you. And how does hold on. I got you. And how does that save your argument for trying to prove that African Americans, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, and all those people groups and Native Americans are the Israelites? If my argument wasn't that it happens all at once, like how does that in any way save your argument? When I ask you to show me evidence, how does that save you in any capacity when I ask you to show me evidence of them going through Deuteronomy 28:52 over large durations of time? How does that save your argument?
Because even dealing with the situation of the transatlantic slave trade itself, we're dealing with the fact that Deuteronomy 28:32, thy sons and thy daughters.
You don't directly answer my question.
I'm answering it. I'm answering it because the slavery itself, like I said before, I loved how you just had said that. How you have been admitted it yourself that all the curses just don't happen in one.
But I've never said that they were ever a one-time event. That's a misrepresentation on your end. So the problem is that you can't show. Listen, the problem is that you can't show me those people groups, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, going through any of these curses under those names of African American, Jamaican, Haitian. You can't show me them going through any of these curses because the curses have the land in view and they were never in the land as people groups. Therefore, you have a problem. You have an issue. Because you're saying they're the Israelites, but the biggest thing that this chapter has is the land. And the problem is that you will not concede. Oh, snap. Yeah, man. If I'm going to say that they fit the curses, I need to show them going through the exact curses that are listed in this chapter, which virtually all of them have the land in view. Like, you don't see how that defeats your argument? You don't see how that completely...
Hold on. All the curses are not completely in the land.
Here, let's go through them all.
Some aren't.
No, not some are
some
not.
Are,
not
some,
some
are,
most are.
Some are.
The majority are all. No, hold on. The majority verbatim will have the word land in view, but virtually all of them, including the ones that don't have the word land verbatim in view, some of these are not even like for example, when you read 20 here, for example, all this sequence right here, 20 to 24, this is all one long thing that's occurring. It's not like, oh, this is like one curse and another curse and another, like verse 20 is one curse, 21 is another curse, like 68 has like, 15 to 68 are individually one curse. Some of these are a sequence of verses that are indicating one singular thing occurring. Now, the problem is that when we read it that way, when you read from 15, for example, then all these curses will come upon you. When you read 16, for example, curse shall you be in the city. What city is this? Their city. Curse shall you be in the field. What field is this? Their field. How do we know that? Because we keep reading, because this has a sequence. Curse shall be your basket and your kneading bowl.
Okay,
notice it mentions.
Let me just say this.
No, I don't want you to say anything real quick. I want you to pay attention because I'm teaching you the Bible, so this way you don't make these bad arguments.
You can't teach me nothing because you don't even know it.
My man, I know this so well that I'm actually walking you through it. You don't know it so well. You do not know it well enough. That's why you're on the land. Here, let me actually help you. I didn't say there's no curses outside the land. See, this is again another straw man. When I say that you have the land in view, it's with the curse in the land and to be taken from the land. Clearly to be taken from the land would require the land in view, with them experiencing the curse of not being in their land by serving in the land of their enemies, like the chapter tells you they would be doing, and worshiping gods of wood and stone. Right? You agree, right? So therefore, it must follow that the land has to be in view in order for them to be taken from the land. So in every way that you want to angle this, you're gonna, bro.
They were taken from the land.
So then look closely. I want you to pay attention, because I don't know if you have ADHD. I get the sneaking suspicion that you do from your inability to concentrate. And I want you to really hyper focus, because people with ADHD tend to have tend to be very hyper focused on the things that are interesting to them. The Bible's interesting to you, so I want you to hyper focus on what I'm going to show you. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 17. Did this say your basket, right? Your kneading bowl, right? Do you agree? Your basket, your kneading bowl?
Yes. It's speaking about condition as of, quantity, having. It's speaking about, poverty. That's basically what it's speaking about, poverty.
It's talking about this in verse 18 in their land. Curse shall be the fruit of your womb. And the fruit of, could you read that for me? Finish that sentence. And the fruit of what?
Say faithful. You're sticking.
Read what it says.
Of course, they're going to give. Of course,
read what it says.
Of course, if you look through Deuteronomy, you're going to find.
Can you read what it says?
That happens within the.
I'm going to give you to the count of 5. 1.
There's a lot of curses that happen within the land. Okay, I'm going to read it. Curse shall be the fruit of thy body, and the curse shall be the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. But
the fruit of what? The fruit of your ground, right? Hold on. The fruit of your ground. Is the ground of theirs the land of Israel?
Yes, yes. This is what I'm saying.
No, let's keep going. No, I'm not done yet. No, I'm not done yet. I'm not done. We're gonna go through this whole chapter with the curses one by one. and we're gonna see.
No, I'm not, because it has no point to it. This is what I'm saying. Even with what you just had said, you even admitted in yourself that all the curses don't happen in one sequence.
Oh my goodness, this guy. Take it easy, Nishan. I want the audience to see that. I was willing to go through all the curses with him and go through every finite detail of every verse just to show him that what I'm saying is what the text is actually saying, and what he's saying doesn't actually line up with the text. This guy knows that he doesn't actually have evidence for his perspective, but he wants to emotionally believe this doctrine. He wants to believe this by any means necessary. So he's willing to jump through hoops to get around having actually to demonstrate his claims. And this is your average Hebrew Israelite that comes on here, that comes on this channel. These guys don't actually have evidence. They have bad reasoning. They have bad reading comprehension. They have bad reasoning comprehension. So you notice how I'm asking him simple questions. And for the record, I want this to be clear. I don't think that this is indicative of the people groups that any of these guys belong to. So I don't think Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans somehow have bad reasoning comprehension or bad logic. Or no, I don't believe that. There are a lot of smart Black folk, Hispanic folk, and Native American folk out there. The people that this doctrine tends to attract tend to have poor reasoning, because they are starting with, I would even venture to say, a lot of them, I don't know how to word it. How do I word this? Yeah, Brother Willie, man. Yeah, I don't know if you were paying attention to that dialogue, man. Like, we just kept going, and like, this guy, every time I would bring up a point, this guy would say, You're trying to say the curses happen all at once. Now, Brother Willie, in all of the time that you've known me, that we've had private conversations, we've had these discussions on air, have I ever said the curses happen all at once, ever?
No, I've never heard you say that.
Have I always maintained that the curses can happen over many periods of time and generations?
Yeah.
Okay. So when he kept making that argument, because I asked him, when did Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans as a people group under their proverb and byword names go through Deuteronomy 28:52 in the land of Israel? Because that verse says that curse is in the land of Israel. Now, his argument is going to be to say, well, the problem is that, you got some of these curses with the land, and then the other curses are just like ambiguous. But no, actually, when you read the chapter, and that's what I was doing, I was taking him through the curses individually to show him that the land is in view in one shape, form, or fashion, either to be cursed within the land, or to be cursed by being taken off of the land and serving in the land of their enemies. That still requires the land to be in view. Even when they're in exile, they went into exile from the land of Israel. That's how it's laid out in this chapter. I'm trying to help him understand that if you're going to insist that you identify people by the curses, and he was willing to concede that it's all the curses, after finally, like, it was like pulling teeth with the guy. After finally getting him to concede the Israelites, by his criteria, have to fit all the curses, then I started going to verses that are inconvenient for him, and now he wants to walk it back, like most of these guys do. Because that's the whole point. I want the audience to understand the methodology. I do not identify Israelites by the curses. I do not believe that this is somehow a horoscope to help you understand who is or isn't an Israelite by curses. I don't hold to that perspective. What I want is for Hebrew Israelites to jump in here and not hide out in the chat, number one. So if you're unable to come in here, you're not going to be able to leave comments in the chat. So I wanted to establish this point. I don't use the curses to identify who is or isn't an Israelite. That's not my perspective. I take the perspective that the biblical authors did. The curses are indicative of breaking the old covenant, the covenant that has been made obsolete in Christ, according to Hebrews 8:13. So The covenant was for those who were under the oath. That would be the people of this chapter and their descendants and the convert that was with them, the proselyte, the person mentioned in Deuteronomy 29, verse 14. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and oath. We literally see those people going through the curses in the biblical text. Deuteronomy 29:14 bears witness that it wasn't just the physical descendants. And so we see, according to Daniel chapter 4 through 14, both houses experienced all the curses of Deuteronomy 28 over a long duration of time, not all at once. So what I do is I like to explain to them that this is the covenant punishments, just like you have covenant blessings for obeying the covenant, for obeying the commandments. Disobeying would get them cursed. Obeying would have them be blessed. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
They only want to focus in on the curses portion. So since they want to focus, and because they have a bad reasoning and understanding of this chapter. So what I do is I tell them, okay, cool. If you're going to insist that the curses is how you identify Israelites, then you have to reconcile the curses that say the land is in view and tell me when that happened to the people, because they think it's like they think the curses they think the curses are a modern identifier of who is an Israelite today. See, you're going to know who the Israelites are because they're going to fit the curses, right? Well, wouldn't that include 52, 36, 63, 21? Wouldn't that include verse 18? Right? That has to include it because those are the curses, right? Those are a part of the curses, correct?
Right. And when you go to verses like 52, for example, that's when you back them into a corner, because the fact that they try to even use those curses of Deuteronomy 15 through 68, that's their Achilles heel, first of all. Second of all, they put they back themselves into a corner by saying that all of the curses pertain to the people that they think are Israelites. Because like you said, Deuteronomy 28:52, you can't, there's no possible way that you could prove that the people that are known today as African Americans and Hispanics and Native Americans by those names experienced that curse in the land of Israel. First of all, there are no people in antiquity called African Americans, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Those are literally modern day names that those people go by today. And you can't. Then on top of that, those 12 ethnic groups on that sign, due to colonialism and slavery, and also you have to consider the forced miscegenation in many cases with the Hispanic tribes, which is 7 out of 12 tribes on that sign, a huge red flag. That basically gave rise to these modern ethnicities on that sign. Trying to assign or map modern ethnicities onto ancient Israelite tribes is like trying to mix oil and water. It does not work.
And then here's what makes it worse, Willie. The problem is, because my argument isn't that you need to find the word African American in the Bible, and I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm saying, because I get accused of this. My argument isn't, in order for you to prove African Americans are Israelites, you need to find the word African American in the Bible, right? In the King James, because that's what they like to use. Like, no, that's not my argument. My argument is, I understand that they're saying the curses for them are a sign for who is an Israelite today. Mm-hmm. Okay, if it's a sign for who is an Israelite today, if that's what you're saying, you need to show me this curse, this curse, this curse, and this curse happening to the people that you think, that you assume are Israelites as a people group. You need to show me them going through that curse. For example, Deuteronomy. By the way, did my screen just pause? Oh, some reason let me do it this way. You need to show those people going through that curse in the land of Israel as a people group. Otherwise, you can't say they fit the curses. It's just common sense. If you're saying they have to fit the curses, like the curses in the chapter have to fit modern people groups today. Okay, that includes 52. You can't just say 70 AD and hand wave it away, because now you're walking back your own criteria. You're saying the people today, those people groups are the Israelites, and they fit all the curses. Because most of the Hebrew Israelites we talk to will say they fit all the curses, right?
Right.
Then when I go to 52, now it's my ancestors. Prove those are your ancestors. Have they ever said, yes, here's the proof that they're my ancestors? No, they'll just go and try to run to a different verse. Well, how do you deal with this? Let's go to Jeremiah 17:4. We cut them once we read verses 1 through 3 to show them that the land is in view, and that's not talking about the transatlantic slave trade. Oh, how do you deal with Deuteronomy 32:26? Well, all you got to do is read the very next verse over to realize that that's not talking about the Israelites forgetting who they are. Well, how do you deal with it? At this point? It's like they're going in. It's like ring around the rosy, man, or you know what I mean? Like it's like they're like, fam. It's like the Hebrew hopscotch, literally that.
Yeah.
And we pointed out in videos on this channel that the Hebrew hopscotch is essentially when a Hebrew Israelite will make an argument. It's like hopscotch, where you have the squares and you jump on one square. But imagine on each of the squares you have a Bible verse. Mm-hmm. So they start off on this one square. Now they're going to jump to the other square that has this other Bible verse. And then when you deal with that, now they want to jump to this other square that has another Bible verse. And then you just end up in a continuum of arguing Bible verses. But the problem is that these guys don't actually have evidence for their perspective. What they want to do is they want to assume their conclusion by making the premise the conclusion and the conclusion the premise. So it's a circular argument. It's circular reasoning. We're the Israelites because we fit the curses, and we fit the curses because we're the Israelites. And when you ask them, well, what's your evidence of that? Well, we're the Israelites. No, you're just asserting that. What's your evidence? Well, it's clear. Who else is it? Who else can be the Israelites? You're assuming you're an Israelite. What's your evidence? Do they ever give evidence? No, they don't.
No, it starts off with confirmation bias, and then it leads to circular reasoning. And you know, when you really sit down and think about the way that they twist the curses in Deuteronomy 28, you notice how 68 is one of the main ones that they try to use, and also I believe 46. See, another thing that's their Achilles heel, and this is to their detriment, is that not only are they eisegeting the scriptures, they're being selective with their eisegesis. And that's how they're presenting this to Blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans that are none the wiser, by using the verses specifically in that chapter that they can eisegete to hook people. But again, you back them into a corner and prove them to be hypocrites and liars when you get them to admit out of their own mouth that they said that all of the curses pertain to Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, but you show them curses that you try to get them to prove happened to those people. And then there's the whataboutisms and the constant circular reasoning, and it just gets tiresome because these guys are dancing around everything, every question and everything that you're trying to get them to prove, because they don't have any evidence, like you said. That's just it in a nutshell.
Yeah. And by the way, for the Hebrew Israelite in the chat that says, oh, that's how you're supposed to read the Bible, precept upon precept. No, you're not. Isaiah 28:10 is not a secret format on how to read the Bible. First of all, the words must be in the King James are not in the Hebrew underneath the translation. Secondly, all you have to do is read Isaiah 28 verses 1 through 9 to get the context before you get to 10. And when you realize that it doesn't have the words must be in the Hebrew text underneath, and when you realize that the word there that's rendered precept is not the same word that is used in Psalm 119, through thy precepts I get understanding, it's not the same Hebrew word. And when you realize that Isaiah 28:13 says, but the word of the Lord was unto them, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they should go and fall backwards, be broken, snared, and taken, that it was a word of rebuke. Once you realize that, you realize, oh, snap, Isaiah, 28 and 10 is not telling us how to read the Bible. It's actually a rebuke against the northern kingdom of Ephraim and the southern kingdom of Judah in verse 14. Hear ye these words, you scornful men, ye scornful men that rule these people from Jerusalem. How am I able to do that off the top of the head? Because I've read that chapter more times than a lot of you guys that self-identify as Hebrew Israelites have even glossed over. And it's easy to spot your mistakes. That's why I'm able to point out these basic mistakes that you guys are making by not actually reading in context. I'm not trying to do that to be condescending or to be arrogant. It's frustrating because you guys will come into these live streams and make complete and utter fools of yourselves, not fools for Christ, but like, like the fool says in his heart, there is no God. Like you make fools of yourselves coming into these discussions. Like, it's bad, man. It's a bad look on you guys.
Right. And I just wanted to add to your point about Isaiah 28 and 10, even when you look at this same verse in the Hebrew, which is kisav lasav, that is literally precept upon precept, precept upon precept, but must be is not there in the Hebrew. Literally, it's not there.
By the way, to the person up's ways, you can ask your question for sure, but please make it quick, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. If I cannot answer, I will direct you to someone who does have an answer. Yeah, like Deuteronomy 8:18 blessing says, misinterpretation upon misinterpretation. And for the record, the Hebrew Israelites are not the only ones that misuse Isaiah 28 and 10. There are also other groups out there, including, unfortunately, well-intentioned but confused Christians that will also misuse Isaiah 28 and 10. Particularly those of the King James only variety. They also tend to misuse Isaiah 28 and 10 because they think that verse is telling them how to read the Bible when no, it's not. It's not a secret format on how to read the Bible. It was literally the people mocking the prophet. Here, let me actually show you. I'm gonna do this, and I've done this before. While we wait for that other person to ask their question, because I think they had a question. Yeah. So, Brother Willie, look at this right here, right? Just to back up what you were saying. This is Isaiah 20 and 10. Hopefully you can see my screen, y'all. You notice how the words must be or not here?
Yeah.
Yep. Now watch this. You see the word there, solve?
Mm-hmm.
Command, precept, order, right?
Right.
Now, Isaiah 28 and 10 in mocking mimicry of Isaiah's words. So what's being conveyed there is the people mocking the prophet. Not, oh, this is a secret format on how to read the Bible. In Isaiah 28 and 13 of the unintelligible speech of foreign agents of judgment. Hence, with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. That's why verse 13 says, but the word of the Lord was unto them, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there little, that they should go and fall backwards, be broken, snared, and taken. Now notice this right here. Explains as mocking sounds. Do you see that? Mocking sounds. The people were mocking the prophet, and the prophet says, okay, your mockery is going to turn into your destruction against you, because while God was using me to speak to you, he's going to use your enemies to speak to you, and you're not going to understand their language. And it's going to be to your destruction because of your rebellion, because of your unwillingness to turn from your wicked ways. See, do you see how I'm able to convey that very easily? But the Hebrew Israelites will literally turn the scriptures on its head because they're not reading in context.
Right. Faithful, I wanted to also mention that even when you go back to the well, let me just put it like this. The King James version Bible, the Old Testament rather, was translated from the Jacob ben Chaim 1525 Second Rabbinic Bible, or also known as the Great Rabbinic Bible, which that's the Masoretic text. The Masoretes were active between if I'm not mistaken, the 5th through 10th centuries AD, but we have the Septuagint, which is even older than that, which was translated from Hebrew to Greek during the Greek Empire from much older Hebrew manuscripts. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, if I want you to, Fable, if you could you pull up the English translation of the Septuagint, Isaiah 28? Let's see here.
Yeah, let me actually show the question. So what did they worship? The West Africans, do them not being the real Jews, Israelites, did they worshiping, I don't know how they worded it. Did they worshiping pagan? Because you did say they was around before Abraham. Well, I mean, if we're gonna follow the so I'll ask this question to you, upsways. Before Vikings encountered people who brought the Bible to them, were they worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or were they worshiping Odin and the Norse gods that they had? Well, if you say it was the Norse gods, and I asked you the question, were the Norse gods the true gods, or was the true God the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Well, if you're a believer in the Bible and you say, yeah, the true God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of all flesh, Jeremiah 32:27, then it would follow that Vikings were basically pagan. West Africans were also pagan, if we're going to follow that line of reasoning. Just there's no way around it. But see, it would follow that many people were pagan before they encountered the biblical faith, if we're following the idea that pagan equals not worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. My brother Willie, you concur, right?
Yeah.
Yep, that was an easy one. So, all right, y'all. So I don't see any more questions, and I don't see any of our friends jumping in here. And we've been going for 2 hours, and I think that's long enough. Brother Willie, you posted in the.
Yeah, it's in the private chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Let me do it this way. Oh, I get where you're gonna. Yeah, where it says affliction upon affliction, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I completely forgot about the Septuagint reading on this, because I had brought this up years ago. Yeah. All right, so we see somebody jumped in here. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but okay, I guess it's not gonna let me. Hold on, let me. I might have to take off the. By the way, we're gonna bring the person who's in, and this will be the last one. Willie, do you want to take this last one?
Yeah. I'll take it.
Oh. Hey, what's going on, Floyd?
How you doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me?
Hear you.
Oh,
Yes.
That's, oh, what a blessing, man. That's a blessing. I'm glad y'all can hear me. How y'all guys doing today?
I'm doing
We're doing
good,
good, man. By the way, Floyd, I don't know if we've spoken before. The name seems familiar. Have you and I ever had a conversation?
Yeah, we got a little rough conversation, but hopefully we can be a little bit more respectful towards each other. For sure.
So, Floyd, we're actually we're going on the 2-hour mark. So let's try to make this one brief.
Hey, real quick. We had a conversation, right? And then I'm the one who comes in with Malik. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I like to keep it respectful, but the thing is that we've been going for 2 hours.
Okay.
So usually it's better for you to get in here before the 2-hour mark, because around this time we start winding down, and I don't want to go for like 2 hours and 50 minutes. So we're gonna go for exactly maybe 10 minutes.
Okay.
10 minutes might be more than enough, and then we'll continue it next time.
All right, that's
Floyd, I
cool.
want to
Hey,
ask you.
I
I
want to
did want
explain
to
to.
ask you.
Let me explain to who
Hold
I
on,
am real quick, really quickly. I'm the one who I could not get in. My microphone was not working for a long time, and I kept trying to talk to you guys, and my
Yeah,
microphone would not work. That's who I am. So I know you
I hear you, Floyd.
guys probably remember from it. Go ahead.
Yeah. What I wanted to say is that I do these on Tuesdays and Thursday, so
That's cool.
I'm actually gonna change the schedule to 6:30. So
That's
moving
cool.
forward, Eastern Standard Time. So I don't know if you're East Coast, you're West Coast, Midwest, but I do them 6:30 Eastern Standard Time now, moving forward. But
That's cool.
Floyd, what I
Yes,
wanted to
sir.
say to you is, um, you because this is important. You do believe you're an Israelite, but
Yeah.
you don't
Yes,
hold to
sir.
the position that salvation is only for Israel, correct?
Correct. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Okay. Now, I want to ask a question, and I'm not asking it because I'm assuming that you have a racist doctrine. I'm just asking because it's a methodological question. If you found out that you're not an Israelite, you'd be perfectly fine serving God and knowing that you're going to be right with God because you love and trust in, Christ's death, burial, and resurrection, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So why then the importance on identifying with a identity that you can't actually demonstrate for yourself?
Oh, well, I believe that I can, even though we can disagree on that. We can agree to disagree. That's fine. But needless to say, I think it's important because I believe personally that Christianity wipes out a whole nation of people. You know what I'm saying? And it's important for us because we don't have an identity according to.
Oh man, he cut out. Did he cut out or did I cut out?
No, that was him. I don't know what happened. Screen just went black.
That was
Floyd.
God Almighty right there, man.
Yeah.
As soon as he started, yeah, man. Look, as soon as that nonsense started coming out of his mouth, man. We'll give him a second, man.
Hello,
Floyd,
you
hopefully you
there?
can hear us. Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Floyd, I don't know what you're doing, man, but I don't know why his connection cut out like that.
I don't know either.
Well, Willie, I think we've been going for quite some time. Floyd, if we're unable to hear you at this point, man, and it feels like this is how the conversation is going to go. Hopefully, whenever you have these conversations, you're at home with a strong connection. That might be better than trying to do them when you're on the road. Because I think the last time you were on the road and you were having the same issue, so it might be better to actually do them at home where you have a strong Wi-Fi, man. It might be your data. So anyways, man, brother Willie, let's hopefully we'll because I would like to have a respectful dialogue with him. He seems like the kind of person that can have a respectful dialogue, even if we agree to disagree. But
Right.
for the rest of y'all, man, y'all keep Gideon and Nishan and who else was in here? Who else did we have in here? I forget who else. Was that it? You just had them too. Y'all keep them in prayer. And with that being said, God bless you all. I really appreciate all of you who showed love and support. Please reshare this on social media. I hope this has edified someone out there. And until next time, take care. God bless you.